Okay, but actually kids can call me Miggy. All right.
Muddy Miggy.
Muddy Miggy. That's right. Because I'm in the mud all the time. This is what I do. This is my business. I work with mud. All right? But specifically, the material that I work with is earth right from the ground. You know, I've got earth right from over there, and sand, right? And this stuff here, right? Straw. And I add this and I mix it all up with the feet. And this is a material called Cobb, right? But it's spelled C-O-B. And where are we living now?
Cobb.
Right, Cobb Mountain. So we're doing Cobb on Cobb Mountain. And so what we're doing here is we're building an oven, right, using this material. And I'm going to give you all a chance to experience mixing this up. Okay? So we are here on Cobb Mountain, and we're about to start building a wood-fired Cobb pizza oven in this beautiful garden. So you can see here we have this nice, we got our squashes, we got our flowers, and we have tomatoes all over, basil. And so it seems like this would be the place to build our Cobb oven. So the first thing you want to do when you're building this is this is where it's building right on the ground. We want to prepare the ground surface first. So what I'm doing is I get some sand and I spread it out over the dirt. And I just use a rake to do this. And then I use a level to get it flat. So we just kind of screed it off. Okay? So we get this part flat. Okay? Okay, so now that we have our bed of sand down, I'm just using these cinder, it's kind of like flat pavers. And we put these down. And so we lay these out. And we'll do it so that, try to get it as flat as you can. And so what this is going to provide is a buffer between the cinder blocks, the base of the oven, and the ground, right? So you don't want to have water wicking up from the ground to your oven. What I do is I'll take a cinder block, like so, and then I'll just kind of break one end of it so that it's like this, and then I'm able to put it into a circle, make a circle out of it, and without big gaps. And I'm going to want to have the oven I usually do the oven about 4 feet across. So I'm going to make the radius about 4 feet. And I can tell already that I can scoot it over this way. And if you want to have a space for wood storage, that could be a nice thing to have a space for wood storage. Then you'd leave the front open, right? So you wouldn't enclose the front. You just have this open, and then you just pile these up, and so then you'd have the space below. So we'll continue doing this. We are going to be using local earth for our oven, for our building project. So they have this mound here. I always find that it's always easier to dig into a mound than to dig holes down into the ground. So I can pretty much tell that this is good earth to build with. One way is just because it already has clods. So when there's dirt clods and it's nice and hard and solid, you pretty much know that this is going to be a good building material. And I can tell it's nice and warm just from being, absorbing the heat from the day. So you know if this is an oven, it's going to be very hot. So I'm just going to use this. I might soak it in water to just soften it up some. All right. Now I can tell this is really nice. I can tell this is really nice earth to work with. I can tell that it already has some sand in the mix, so we're not going to have to add too much sand to the mix. And but our final mix is going to be about 70% sand, 30% clay. We've added some sand to the mix, so you want to use a good coarse river sand. You don't want to use like a fine beach sand for a Cobb mix. You want to use a coarse beach sand. And so I'm just adding this into the clay. So I kind of do a combination of mixing it up with the hoe first, and then I also get in there and mix it up with my feet. So I kind of alternate between, you know, the hoe action and the feet action. All right, so now we got our sand and our clay mixed up. So I'm gonna add some straw to the mix. Now, we don't need too much. That's probably about right. So just mix it up, and straw, you know, provides tensile strength, so it helps to hold everything together. It helps to, you know, like where we're going to be filling in kind of big spaces over an inch, the straw just helps to bind it all and helps to keep it all intact and everything. So, gosh, this mix is feeling really, really nice. So now we're making what's called a clay slip. Now I like to use, for my clay slip, I like to use this pure clay. This is a mortar clay. It's $5 for a bag, very cheap, but it's really nice and sticky. And so we add this clay to some water. All right, so now we're gonna start putting our Cobb mix over our base, our cinder block. So I take my clay slip mix and I put this over the cinder block. So this is essentially the glue for our Cobb. And where there's like a big gap like that, I would just put in a little cinder block chunk there just to kind of fill in that gap. So then I like to use gloves when I do this because I find that it's just a little easier to sculpt with rubber gloves. So then I just take this and just put it right on in the water and then smooth it out. Like so. So we're at the phase of putting we're gonna put a ring of bricks around the top. So we finished putting our Cobb over the cinder blocks and we have our wood platform across here. And so what I do is I'll take a couple bricks and dip it in clay. First I put some mortar. This is basically just a Cobb mix over the wood, and then I take a brick and I dip it in clay, and then I just put it in there, and I'm going to do this all the way around. And where there's like rocks, just go ahead and take those out so it gets nice in there. And now I'm going to go 2 bricks high, so I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to put another layer of Cobb over that, dip the brick and a clay slip. And so it doesn't have to be pretty at this point because this is all going to be covered up, you know, with Cobb and everything. But this is basically just a ring that we're making that's going to be containing our insulation that's going to be going in here. Just putting our rings of bricks around, so two bricks high. Using a Cobb for a mortar. Okay, so I'm making a kind of a clay slip. For this I'm just using pure clay, which is mortar clay, and because it doesn't have any sand in it, so it's very, you know, lightweight. So we're just trying to create something very aerated here without any mass, really. So just make You can also use sawdust. Also, you can use vermiculite for this. I find that the perlite, it compacts the best, and since we're going to be building up on top of this today, we don't want it to be soft and squishy. That's the sawdust. So we mix this up together, pretty much just so that it's able to form into a ball about this kind of consistency here. It doesn't have very much clay in it, and it's very, very lightweight. All right. We have our perlite mix made up. Any kind of glass bottles works good. Beer bottles, wine bottles, juice bottles. We got these this morning at a little bar in Kelseyville. And so you just kind of lay these out and fill up the whole space with the bottles. Now we are putting this layer of insulation, the perlite mix, over the bottles, and just kind of tamp it down. So our insulation layer, of course, is to help retain the heat in the brick, and also to keep the heat from going down to burn our wood. Okay. This is going to be a wood-fired pizza oven, or an oven for cooking squashes, or an oven for cooking asparagus. And I put it in a jar, and I shook it up, and so I was able to see how much sand was already in the earth here. So I shook it up, and you can see that it seems to be about 40% sand and about 60% clay. So you see, so there's sand here, and then there's clay. And so and you can see the sand because it's the coarse, and sand is heavier than clay, so it sinks to the bottom. We put the insulation down there below. We put a layer of Cobb, about an inch of Cobb, our sand, clay, straw mix, but very dense, over the insulation. And then we put a little bed of sand on there and flatten that out, right? So now we're going to be putting our brick, our fire brick, down over the oven, right, over the floor. And so we're going to be putting them down like this. Now this is going to be our opening right here. This is where we're going to be making our door. So this is where we want to start. We want to have this kind of in the center. So you kind of look at it and see, okay, where is the center of the oven? And it looks to be about right there, so that you can go over a little bit more. And then you can just take some of the bricks, and just continue putting them across. So like this.
Can I help do it?
Okay, yeah. So you can take some of the bricks and start setting them down. Okay, hold on. Okay, there's a way of doing it though. So this brick here, you put right here.
You want to line the bricks up as if you're making a line.
Actually, what you can do is you can hand them to me.
There you go. That's
There you go.
helpful.
That's helpful.
Super helpful.
Exactly.
Super helpful. Awesome, guys. Good passing. Yeah.
This is going to make some good food.
Yeah, it is.
You might not even have to leave the garden to do it.
I know, make a pizza with tomatoes right there.
Basil.
Okay. So now we take some of the sand and just kind of spread it around. So if you want to help spread out the sand,
You find them?
and so this just goes into the crack. Now I like to put the slit on the bricks and just put some of the Cobb mix around, and this just kind of keeps the bricks nice and secure. Now we're working on making our sand mold. We don't really want to put like too big of pieces in, because when we take this all out, it's hard to take out if the pieces are too big. So we'll just try to keep them on the small side. And we don't want it to come out too far, so we're like, this one is too far out.
Mr. Miguel?
Yes.
I'm wondering, and maybe some of them are wondering too, what do you mean you're going to take them out?
So what we're going to be doing is, right now, what a mold is something that's there temporarily and then comes out. So we're making a pile, and we're using like this rubble, and we're also going to be using wet sand. So we're going to have the sand here. I got it wet, and so I put this on top of here. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making this pile of rubble and wet sand, and it's going to be about 30 inches wide, and it's going to be about 16 inches tall. Okay, so it's going to be a kind of a dome like that. It can be between 16 and 18 inches high. And then we're going to be putting our Cobb mix that we're making up over here. We're going to be putting that over our mold. All right, and then we're going to be sculpting our beehive shape, and then we're going to let that set up, and we're going to sculpt a door right here, an opening into the space. And then we're going to take this and just take it all out. And when we take it all out, then we're going to have an empty space here that we'll be able to make our fire to cook our food. Yeah. Okay. So we've been working on making our sand mold here. So we have our sand mold. This is about 16, 17 inches high and about 30 inches wide or so. And so it's a combination of some rubble that we had and wet sand. And I just use a board to just kind of smooth it out. And so we'll be, and so we really want this to be really nice and smooth, just so that the fire is, is able to kind of roll off the walls easily. And we'll be putting some wet newspaper over this also, just so that when we put the Cobb over this, and when we take the mold out, then we're not going to have pieces of sand sticking to the Cobb, so you're not going to have sand, falling on your pizza. All right. Okay, so we have our pile of sand, or mold, and I put some newspaper over that, just newspaper dipped in water, just to create kind of a buffer between our Cobb and the sand mold. Now we're ready to start putting our Cobb mix over the sand. So first thing I do is I put just a little bit of clay slip, just our clay and water over the brick, just so our clay will stick well to our surface. And then I take some of my Cobb mix, and the Cobb mix, I want it to be very dense, right? So I want this to be very dense so it compacts really well, so I don't want it to be too soft. And I just take this and put this around. So I usually will kind of make it into a ball first, form it into a ball, and then I'll compact it in. So we're doing it about 4 inches thick, about the width of 4 fingers. And so we'll just do this, and then we'll be letting this part set up, and then tomorrow we're going to come and we're going to be sculpting our beehive shape and insulating on the outside of this. Okay? So this is called the thermal mass layer. So we'll be doing this, covering the whole oven with this. A really good way to do this, if you have 3 people, that really works best. If you have one person, Scott's here, he's making our Cobb balls. So it's great if you can get a ball, handed to you that's nice and compact already, and then you can just take this and pile it on. And when you get to the top part, you want to try to have this part be kind of perpendicular to the dome, right? So we want to have it like almost as if you imagine if we have bricks, like if the Cobb were bricks, we're kind of making them, you know, kind of keeping that arch shape. And if you have it perpendicular to the dome, then you're able to regulate how thick you're being. So if you really want to have it about like that. And sometimes if you need some height, sometimes it helps to put, you know, just stand on something higher, just because you really want to be able to press down on the oven. You want to be able to, you know, put some weight down on it. And it's hard if you're not tall enough. So what you can do is I'm going to be putting this copper tube inside the oven, right? So I'm going to be making a groove in here, and I'm going to be making it about 2 inches deep, right? So the walls right now are about 4 inches deep, thick, and I'm going to be making a groove going around the oven so that when the oven is hot, we'll be able to pour cold water here in the copper tube, and it's going to coil around the oven and then come out hot water for your tea. So that's what I'm going to be doing right now, is I'm going to be working on making this groove, carving it into the oven. And then it's just important that the whole thing, there's an angle that it goes down the whole way. And so I'm doing this before I make my, you know, nice looking beehive. And after I do this, I'm going to be putting the mud over the copper tube. So you're not going to see the copper tube at all. It'll be buried in the mud. And then I can start, you know, making my nice shape of my beehive. Yes. So we're working now on, we've been sculpting our beehive. This is also kind of considered the insulation layer. It's a little high in straw. You could even put more straw in than this also. And now we're ready to start taking out our sand mold. So you can just use the shovel for this if you want. You can just carve into it. And so we're gonna make this about 10 inches high, about 10 or 11 inches high. So this is about 63% of the height of the hearth. So if the height of the hearth is about 17, 18 inches, then this will be about 11 inches. So if it's 16 inches, it would be 10 inches. Okay, so we finished taking out the sand mold, and now we're making our first fire. And so the fire is also to help dry it out. And so we want to start the fire, you know, kind of small, and then work our way up. So we're just gonna, you know, put some small pieces of wood in there. Yeah. Imagine that you want some hot tea. It's a cold evening, and you want to warm up some tea. We use some cold hibiscus tea right here. So we can just take this. And Maya's holding the cup there. So we're just going to pour the cold water right here. That's what I'm thinking, baby. I don't think
nice.
Somebody added more. I bet you this is you.
We could be looking at this book while we're okay.
Yeah, or you can cook your pizza, put the pizza on the boat, put it on the rack. Because with the hot tub, you're sitting in the tub. Hey, Dennis. Hey.
Oh, hey, Dennis.
Why in there?
We're here at on Cobb Mountain School. We're having a harvest party here. So this is the first firing of our new Cobb pizza oven. So we're cooking pizzas in the oven. And so we've got the full spread, doing a lot of stuff here right from the garden. And so I'm going to do a little test here, putting cold water into the copper tube.
Steam coming out down below.
Yes, she did. She's like, alone. Yeah.
And then we get hot water coming down here. So if you want some tea. Wow! Very hot. Okay, now we got a pizza ready.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Woo, woo, woo!